A secret audio and video recording of a phone conversation between Donald Trump and RFK Jr. has leaked. On the phone call, Donald Trump is heard behaving kind of like a wacko. I mean, not really surprising, but when you hear it on audio, it's fairly jarring. Donald Trump professing anti-vax views to RFK Jr., seeming to ask for RFK Jr.'s support and endorsement, also talking about the phone conversation he received from President Biden. This audio and video recording was released by RFK Jr.'s son, Bobby Kennedy III. I'm going to play for you that video in just a moment. RFK Jr. has confirmed the validity of it and has apologized for his son leaking it in an unauthorized fashion. Bobby Kennedy III, RFK Jr.'s son, wrote the following when he posted this video clip. He said, "I'm a firm believer that these sorts of conversations should be had in public. Here's Trump giving his real opinion to my dad about vaccinating kids. This was the day after the assassination attempt. If I violated some kind of law in posting this, my only wish is to have Dr. Anthony Fauci as my cellmate. This is not a cheap fake or somebody doing a Trump voice. This is the real deal." He could have picked a unity ticket. Instead, he picked JD, fire all the unvaccinated nurses, Vance, two parties indivisible under Pfizer with liberty and justice for some. Here's the video right now. Let's play it.
I agree with you, man. Something's wrong with that whole system. And, and it's the doctors you find. Remember I said I want to do small doses. Small doses. When you feed a baby, Bobby, a vaccination that has like 38 different vaccines, and it looks like it's meant for a horse, not a 10-pound or 20-pound baby. It looks like you should be giving a horse this. And do you ever see the size of it, right? It's just massive. And then you see the baby all of a sudden starting to change radically. I've seen it too many times. And then you hear that it doesn't have an impact, right? But you and I talked about that a long time ago. And anyway, I would love you to do something. And I think it would be so good for you and so big for you. And we're going to win. We're going to win. We're way ahead of the guy. And, he's interesting. It was very nice, actually. He called me. And he said, how did you choose to move to the right? Because, so I guess that's, people say, if I was looking straight up, right? He said, I said, I was just showing a chart. I didn't have to tell him the chart was on all the people pouring into our country, right? But I just turned my head to show the chart. And something wrapped me. It felt like a giant, like the world's largest mosquito. And it was a bullet going right. What do they call that, an AR-15 or something? That was a big gun. Those are pretty tough guns, right?
Shortly after that was posted by Bobby Kennedy III, it was removed. RFK Jr. then issued the following statement. "When Trump called me, I was taping with an in-house videographer. I should have ordered the videographer to stop recording immediately. I am mortified that this was posted. I apologized to Donald Trump." Now, I also want to point out how phony Donald Trump is. That's obvious, but let's go through some of the data and the facts here. On April 26, 2024, Donald Trump said that he would endorse President Biden over RFK Jr. He said that RFK Jr. is a fake. Donald Trump wrote about RFK Jr. His views on vaccines are fake, as is everything about his candidacy. Let the Democrats have RFK Jr. They deserve him. And there you have Donald Trump on the secret audio recording, though, with RFK Jr. sucking up to RFK Jr. And as Bobby Kennedy III says, this is what Donald Trump is saying in private. This is also what Donald Trump is saying in public. This is a selfie video that Donald Trump made of himself on May 8th or May 9th, 2024, saying that RFK Jr. is a Democrat plant, a radical left liberal who's been put in place to help crooked Joe Biden, Donald Trump says. But now we have the secret audio recordings of Donald Trump, so we really know what's really going on behind the scenes here. Play this clip.
I'd even take Biden over Jr. because our country would last about a year or two longer than it would with Jr. It would collapse almost immediately. And his family, a radical left, a crazy left, a bunch of lunatics would take over and our country will die very quickly. So RFK's views on vaccines are fake, as is everything else about his candidacy. He is not a Republican, so don't think you're going to vote for him and feel good. He's a radical left Democrat. Let the Democrats have RFK Jr. They deserve him.
Also talking about what Donald Trump says to the public versus what we know he is doing in private. This is Donald Trump on Fox attacking RFK Jr., saying that RFK Jr. comes out strongly against all of the vaccines. Is he against the polio vaccine? Here, play this clip.
He's a radical left guy, and because he came out at one point strongly against all vaccines. Now, is he against the polio vaccine? Because polio was destroying the country, it was destroying the world.
Let me ask you.
Which is interesting because when Donald Trump gives public speeches, one of the lines that he repeats over and over again is he says that he is not going to give a single penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate on anything, which would seem to invite polio and other very, very serious diseases back into the schools where your kids and grandkids go. This is what Donald Trump says at all of his events. Play the clip.
I will not give one penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate.
And just so you see, I'm not cherry picking one of the times Donald Trump says this. I'll just show you another event. The first one I showed you was in Wildwood, New Jersey. I just picked that one at random. I'll show you this one right here that Donald Trump gave in Dayton, Ohio. Play the clip.
And I will not give one penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate.
And I'll just so you see that I'm not cherry picking and I'm not just, oh, there was two. He does this in every one. This is him in Rome, Georgia. Play the clip.
And I will not give one penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate.
So when Donald Trump was also sitting down for an interview with Bret Baier asked Donald Trump if in his mind does he thinks the COVID vaccine works. And Donald Trump's response is, well, I think I'm not supposed to answer that question because for Republicans, we're not supposed to talk about those things. Here, play this clip.
Thing on COVID. In your mind, did the COVID vaccine work?
It's such an interesting question because not only that, I also did the Regenerons of the world, we did a tremendous job on that. But we had a vaccine. Now you have different COVIDs. You had COVID-19 and then you have different COVIDs, but we had original was COVID-19, which was the roughest one. So I have a Democrat friend who's very smart. Hopefully he votes for me, but he's very smart. He said, I don't understand one thing about you. I watch your rallies, they're incredible. You talk about beating ISIS, you talk about taxes, you talk about regulation, you talk about everything. But you never said that, I've never heard you talk about how the incredible job you did with the vaccines, because as you know, I got them done in 9 months, and it was supposed to take anywhere from 5 to 12 years. I broke their ass, okay? And you know who doesn't like me too much? The FDA. Because they were very bureaucratic, and I got it done. And he said, you may have saved in the world, throughout the world, 100 million people, and you never talk about it. I said, I really don't want to talk about it because as a Republican, it's not a great thing to talk about because for some reason, it's just not.
For some reason?
Yeah, for some reason, because people love the vaccines and people hate the vaccines, but conservatives aren't. And I understand both sides of it, by the way. I understand both sides very well. What I didn't do is the mandates. The mandates and the vaccines don't go. And you had these governors mandating.
Well, you did with
and
the
by
Defense
the way,
Department.
Ron DeSantis.
The Pentagon did.
Ron DeSantis had lines of people trying to get the vaccine. He set up whole things. When I never saw a guy that could forget the past so quickly because the past wasn't that long ago.
And here, despite clearly Donald Trump doing things to the contrary, here he is saying that this is when he was attacking Ron DeSantis and saying that Ron DeSantis loved Dr. Fauci, but Trump saying he didn't love Dr. Fauci. Here, play the clip.
Things, when I never saw a guy that could forget the past so quickly because the past wasn't that long ago. Ron DeSantis literally had people lined up trying to get the vaccine. All the things that he said. For instance, Ron DeSantis loved Fauci.
Sure, but you didn't fire him. You listened to him. You kept
he's
him
a
on.
civil service for it. You're not actually allowed to fire him, but I wouldn't let that usually get in my way. It's one of those things. But I never spent a lot of time with Fauci. who did is Biden. Fauci became very powerful under Biden.
Look, I think the secret audio recording of RFK Jr. is telling on a number of levels. I mean, number one, Donald Trump sounds like an absolute wacko on it. Could you imagine him speaking to world leaders? I mean, I can, unfortunately. And so number one. Number two, the things he says are absolutely, and I think, utterly bizarre, and I think very dangerous, and I think they need to be called out. But again, three, everything is a stunt. Everything is a fraud that he does, right? There's what goes on in private. There's what happens in public. And then there's what goes on in private at very different levels. He says whatever it is to the person to try to make them like him and to support him, and then throws them under the bus whenever he gets the chance. That's what he does. He is the biggest user. For him, when he thinks about the word unity, it means just how can he help him? And our corporate media falls into these narratives all of the time, and they'll have the fact checker say, but Donald Trump said this. Look at their actions. We know his track record. He was in office for the 4 most disastrous years. He can say those years were great, but we actually live them. There's objective data and criteria from which to judge. We know what Donald Trump did. We saw the press conferences during COVID. We see what he's doing. So just report on the facts. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million together.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.